Hello, my fellow Americans. 'Tis I, the Rumpled One. Friday, October 12th, the year 2012. Rules for Radicals. The book that's been proclaimed to be Obama's handbook. The Rich Uncle video has definitely touched a few people. There's been a lot of reaction to it. Some people agree with me, some people don't. But what it gets down to in the root of this discussion is, I think the crux of the issue is, do you have the right to take something that doesn't belong to you? That's what it boils down to. Do you have the right to take something that doesn't belong to you? Ponder that. Some people say under certain circumstances it's okay. Because when you talk about taxes, you're talking about the government taking something from somebody else, usually to give to you or somebody like you. And is that right in its essence? And where do you stop taking? Where do you draw that line? And it's the old ends and means argument, which I want to read what Saul Alinsky has to say about that. I will start on page 25 here. I'm going to jump in. They can be recognized by one of two verbal brands. We agree with the ends but not the means, or this is not the time. The means and ends moralists or non-doers always wind up on their ends without any means. The means and ends moralists, constantly obsessed with the ethics of the means used by the have-nots against the haves, should search themselves as to their real political position. In fact, they are passive, but real allies of the haves. So, if you're a have-not, I guess what he's saying is you're justified in doing whatever it takes to take from the haves. But to me, that's just flat out wrong. Give an example. I'm a single guy. Let's say my neighbor is married, has a couple of kids. Let's say we both work for the same company, the same job, make the same pay. Well, of course, his household expenses are going to be more than mine because he has 3 more mouths to feed. But let's just say we purchase the same amount of food every week. They're consuming their rice and beans, and I'm consuming part of mine, but my pantry is building up. And let's just say the company we work for goes under. We both find ourselves out of work. No more paychecks. And since we were basically living paycheck to paycheck, we don't have any money saved up to get us over. But his pantry is probably going to run dry in a week or two. Just empty it out. On the other hand, I might have 3-4 months worth of food. Now, is it right for him to come and take my food to feed his family? Is it? You might be thinking, well, you know, if you're a good guy, you would just offer it to him. But what if he and I We're like the Hatfields and McCoys. We were always feuding. We had maybe we had a property line dispute, or maybe his animals came into my yard, or something where we just don't even speak. We might, be working at the same company, but that's where it ends. So you see, when you start moving that line, things get all muddy. Talk about shades of gray. That's why I just flat out say it's wrong to take what's not yours. It's that simple. You can try to justify it, which is what this book's trying to do. And as you read this book, I'm only up to page 29. You can see Obama has been using this book, at least the principles put forth in it. But, there's the one guy said his girl was sick, and, it was a good thing that the government was there. And I understand his position. I can sympathize with it, but I don't agree with it. Because in the example I used, somebody put a gun to somebody else's head to take money to give so his kid could get the medical attention. Now, I know it sounds cold-blooded and cold-hearted, but you have to look at the total picture, the big picture, the reality of the situation. Because maybe taking from that person causes some ramifications to that person's family down the line. I mean, when you think about it, you want to tax the rich more, not only in dollar amount, but also as a percentage. But what happens to that rich person if they somehow just hit a bad patch on the road? Bad luck. All that money that was taken for them may have gotten them over that patch without any difficulty, but because it was taken from them, they might wind up in the same position of the people who were benefit from the government taking money from them in the first place. Irony? I just think it's wrong. But most people don't consider that big picture. They only consider themselves, which I understand. As Ringer pointed out, we all look out for number one. It's in our self-interest. We always do. It's human nature. But when you start talking about using force, it's just wrong. Some people agree with me that charity, compassion can't be mandated. Because if you do, it's no longer charity and compassion. And as I mentioned before, it's going to build up resentment. And that's one of the reasons why we have a divided country right now, is because of the resentment. I think in the old days, at least I know when I was growing up, if you saw somebody that maybe had something that you'd like to have, or was doing something you'd like to do, you worked toward that goal. If somebody had a really cool car and you wanted one, you didn't think about taking their car. That's stealing. Thought didn't cross your mind. No, you thought about finding a job and saving your money and maybe wheeling and dealing, having a nice car. That's what I did. Some other friends on the block did. I can think my friend Eddie Boy started with, I think, a $100 car or something that he got from his uncle that had a gas station, cleaned it up, sold it for $300, and then he did that a few times over and wound up buying a brand new Firebird back in 1977. Then I got my Trans Am in '78. But He got his car first. I didn't think about taking his car. No, I was working toward my own. But I don't know if that's being taught anymore. Is it? I don't think so. Ends and means. Do you really think it's okay to take from somebody else under certain circumstances? I don't. And the funny thing is that most people agree with that, even the founding fathers, and that's why we have laws that basically say you can't take from somebody else unless you're the government. And they definitely pushed that line, adding on taxes, taking away our freedoms. Ends and means. You have to learn your enemy. You have to be able to see what's really going on, not just what they want you to look at. You have to look beyond that. If they're telling you to look over here, well, look over there, but then look over there too. So, my fellow Americans, let me know what you think. I'm really curious to hear, because I think this discussion is very crucial. And I think it really shows what's going on in this country. And it shows why we're in the position we're in. Because the people that disagree with me here on YouTube, I don't think they're dummies. I don't think you guys are stupid. You just disagree with me, but I don't think you see the big picture. I think you see your individual position, your individual circumstances, and you want to move the line and justify your actions and the actions of the government that benefited you and yours. And you're not giving any consideration to the consequences that might befall the people who have had their money taken from them. Wake up, America. Smell the tyranny.